Hello, welcome everyone. This is a session on securing applications with AWS and Palo Alto Networks. This is a Palo Alto Networks sponsored session, and I am Vijay Kannan, Director of Product Management at Palo Alto Networks for Cloud Firewalls. I have with me three fantastic speakers. We have John Wright from SSE Technologies, we have Eric Ellis from Avalon Healthcare, and we also have Mark Zemanek from BMS or Bristol-Myers Squibb. In a few minutes, they'll be here to introduce themselves, talk about their cloud journey, as well as give you a perspective of a practitioner's perspective of how they are deploying Palo Alto Networks firewalls to protect their network traffic in AWS. Before that, I'll spend some time on talking about Palo Alto Networks firewalls, the platform, and other aspects of it, so that it's very easy for you to follow when they come and talk about how they are protecting. Here's a situation. Customers like you are moving all the applications to cloud, and you are kind of having a multi-cloud strategy or a hybrid cloud strategy, which means you're expanding your network and increasing the risk of breach. At the same time, attacks are getting very evasive, attacks are getting very sophisticated, and they're spreading very fast in a matter of hours and days. But still, the industry average time for remediation is in the order of days or months. Our customers have told us that they want to protect themselves from these attacks, but at the same time, they want to simplify their architecture as well as make sure that they're getting a maximum ROI of their current investments. To help these customers, Palo Alto Networks now has a network security platform which consolidates network security across all environments, be it your data center, be it your cloud, be it your private cloud or public cloud, be it your branches, and also your user traffic. This platform has three major components. The first one, obviously, is the form factors, which you can deploy in different environments and protect your network traffic. And then comes the very important aspect, which is the AI-powered cloud delivers security services, which delivers consistent protections to these firewall form factors. And the third important component is the unified management via Panorama or our StrataCloud Manager, which allows you to write policies once and enforce them in all these environments. When I talk about policies, these policies take a two-phase approach to protect your network traffic. It doesn't matter which environment, it does the same thing. In the first phase, you use granular controls to decide what traffic to allow and what traffic to deny. These granular controls comes with increased or advanced application awareness, user awareness, workload awareness, and device awareness. For example, Palo Alto Networks App ID will allow you to identify an application irrespective of a port, irrespective of a protocol, or any decryption or any evasive techniques. Similarly, you can also identify a traffic or traffic session based on your AWS workload as long as you have an AWS tag associated with it. So we have multiple ways to identify traffic, and then you can decide, based on these controls, what traffic to allow and what traffic to deny. Once you do that, on the allowed traffic, you can use Cloud Delivers Security Services to protect this traffic from all these different threats. Over the last few years, we have improved all these Cloud Delivers Security Services. We now have an intrusion prevention service which is infused with AI and ML detection engines. So it goes beyond just protecting your traffic based on known threats and signature-based protection. It has now protected you from day zero attacks as well. Similarly, our malware analysis engine, which is our advanced wildfire service, can also protect you from zero-day attacks, zero-day malware, and also any known variants or unknown variants of the known malware as well. So all these techniques have used, we can do zero-day attacks. Similarly, our web protection service, which is the URL filtering, they just go beyond protecting your traffic based on known malicious URLs using our URL databases. Now the ML detection engines on them can actually do real-time analysis of your content traffic and make sure that you're protected against unknown malicious URLs as well. So all these work together to protect your traffic at different part of your attack lifecycle. For example, advanced threat prevention will protect you from day zero malware, day zero exploits. Advanced wildfire will protect you from day zero malware delivery. advanced threat prevention, advanced URL filtering, and as well as the DNS security will protect you from data exfiltration or command and control traffic as well. So all this work together to protect your traffic. There's one more component of the platform. It gives you a network effects across all our customer base. And if an attack is detected in any one of our firewalls in one of our customers, the platform will analyze the data, and then it delivers protections, not just to the same firewall, but to all the firewalls across our customer base. That's how you get the network effects of our 65,000 customers we have. The platform actually analyzes 1.7 billion new data or new objects each day. And and along with that, it analyzes data and it delivers protections to all this different traffic, different firewalls. Each day, the platform actually protects from 11.3 billion attacks each day. It's a large number. The last time I checked, the world population is around 8.3 billion. So this is a very high number. So each day, we're protecting so many attacks. So this network effects of the platform, as well as the security effectiveness of the cloud-delivered security services, gives you the best-in-class security which you enjoy. Doesn't matter which form factor, doesn't matter which environment, use your firewalls to protect the traffic. Now, let's talk more about software firewalls. Software firewalls are a form factor we talked about. This form factor actually extends the platform to cloud environment. You can deploy these firewalls in private cloud, you can deploy these firewalls in public cloud, and have consistent protections using a platform and using policies. Let's talk more about these firewalls in the next few slides. This form factor, we have three different variants of this form factor. We have the self-managed VMCs instances. It's a virtual VM form factor. You can deploy them in private cloud, you can deploy them in public cloud. We have a lot of automation capabilities built for deploying them. We also have a lot of integrations with cloud providers as well as virtualization providers. So it's really easy to deploy, and then you can also make sure you have form factor consistency across all your clouds. We also have Palo Alto Networks Managed Cloud NGFW, which is a Palo Alto Networks Managed Service. It has zero maintenance. It comes with built-in scalability, built-in resiliency, built-in lifecycle management, and also 4.9 SLAs. And then we have a new entrant is the AI runtime security, which are again VM firewall instances that protects your AI apps and AI models and the communications between them. We'll talk all of them in detail in the next few slides. Let's just move on. So before talking about these firewalls, how they are protecting our customer traffic, I just want to give some basis on why we actually need a firewall in public cloud. We have security groups, we have other aspects. Why do we need them? Actually, we need them because your applications are actually talking to internet for having some outbound connections to either to kind of have software updates or talk to any SaaS APIs out there. For that purposes, you open up the connections to the cloud, but that means you're also risking outbound malicious traffic like command and control traffic or data exfiltration. For that purpose, you need a next-generation firewall, doesn't matter what form factor you use, to protect your cloud traffic. Similarly, we also have unpatched or unknown vulnerabilities. Log4j is fresh in your mind. It's been out there for 7 years, but we never knew about it. And suddenly that it became a CVE and attacks started happening. So you need, once that attack starts happening, you need a first layer of defense until you take time to patch and finish your patching. And for that purpose, you need a first layer of defense, and next generation firewall will act as a next layer of defense. Similar than lateral movement. So, God forbid if you're attacked and if one of the applications attacked, your applications are going to talk to other models or other applications and so on. For that purpose, you need to protect your east-west traffic, and you need a next-generation firewall to do that. So the platform itself, along with the policies, along with the cloud-delivered security services, and the form factor, will protect your east-west traffic, your outbound traffic, as well as your inbound traffic. So let's talk a little bit about customer-managed VMCs instances. We have these virtualized instances which can run on both private cloud, public cloud, as well as virtualized data center. We have a very good integration with all the hypervisors and all the cloud providers. We have good automation capabilities. You can deploy this firewall at scale, and also you can also make sure you can protect them using a centralized management of a platform. Now I'm going to invite Mark Zemanek from Bristol-Myers Squibb to talk about how he's using VM series to protect all his traffic in AWS. Hi.
Thanks, Vijay.
Yeah.
Hey, folks. I'm an architect for Bristol-Myers Squibb and our cloud engineering team. Our journey to AWS and eventually to the Palos started a little over 10 years ago when, probably like many of you, we had a handful of applications in AWS. For us, it was a lot of our research apps, and people started using some of the services. That grew and grew until about 8 years ago, we came up with a cloud-first strategy. So we closed our major data center, 2 floors, shut everything down, and did a big lift and shift of everything into one giant VPC for everything that couldn't be moved over, more cloud native. When we did that, of course, that giant VPC was only going to live a couple of years while we migrated all the apps out. Well, 10 years later, it's twice the size it was when we moved it up. So our goals and objectives were poorly met. But everything worked out well. A lot of the problem with those big VPCs that we started having was you have to have a lot of IAM policies. If you have 300 apps in a VPC, you have to make sure the guy with the cafeteria menu can't bring down your SAP environment. So you start having this spaghetti of IAM policies to make sure you have security. But that's the way it was because you only wanted to have so many VPC peerings across your network because it really created a spaghetti of this VPC can talk to this VPC, this VPC can talk to this VPC. I think we grew to over 10,000 peering connections at some point. Then luckily AWS came out with the Transit Gateway. When the Transit Gateway came out, we previewed it for about 8 months, and we migrated to it actually rather quickly because as DevOps was becoming more popular, we started deploying a VPC per application type model so that those 7 or 8 VPCs we had today are over 1,000. So the transit network, let's see where I am here, my lovely picture. The transit network grew across 10 regions where we host applications today. So at the bottom there, you could see those are the transit gateways. Not all the regions are there, but I think there's 6 or 8 of them. And those regions are in pairs for us. So from those regions, we do a mesh of all the transit gateways to each other so that you can cross regions and traffics from US East 1 can go to Frankfurt and such not. So this kind of gave us routers in the cloud. So within each region now, VPCs for an application automatically, when they attach to the transit gateway, they automatically get propagated into route tables so everybody can reach them. So this kind of gave network connectivity dynamically across all of our regions, across all of our VPCs, eliminated a lot of those IAM rules for security. But then came the question of, okay, now what do we want to do for security? We don't necessarily want to do it in 1,000 VPCs and then the security team trying to, get into every application and look, you left Telnet open on this host. So what happened was we were looking for inspection capability in all of these regions. So we started looking at AWS Firewall, a couple competitors of Palo. There was nobody who had a really good cloud native solution. What the problem was we wanted like auto scaling groups. So we wanted to have auto scaling groups of firewalls that can kind of grow and shrink based on the load. We didn't really necessarily want to run 100 firewalls in 10 regions. So right as we were getting ready to go with AWS Firewall, AWS came out with the Gateway Load Balancer. Palo quickly supported it, which was really good for us. So right in the 11th hour as we were getting ready to start the build, we got some licenses from Palo and tested it. And that kind of gave us the ability to have an auto scaling group in every one of those transit gateway networks. And that auto scaling group allowed us to grow with load and shrink when load was down. And so, US East 1's busy. It's always got a lot of traffic. But Frankfurt, maybe not so much, or Singapore, not so much. So that gave us the ability to, off of each one of the transit gateways there in the middle, we have an inspection security VPC, which you see off to the right. I think this slide is missing the visibility. This is the ingress from the internet slide. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, something comes in from the internet, it hits CloudFront first for us, and we have a WAF on there, and we then pass the traffic over to our IGW, which uses ingress routing. So that ingress routing ensures that any traffic that comes in from the internet is forced to the endpoint that takes it to the inspection VPC. So all traffic is from the internet is forced always. It can't get into our network unless it first passes through the inspection VPC in a host of Palos. So that was kind of grow and shrink dynamically. We have the security in that VPC has everything enabled with notifications and blocking because obviously it's internet exposed. So that's the ingress was always, the big challenge. That's effectively like a DMZ for us. So you come in, you hit the endpoints, they take you to the inspection VPC if the traffic is allowed. You go back into the DMZ VPC, and then you go in and you hit the back-end transit gateway. Now that transit gateway is the same one you saw on the other slide. That transit gateway could be US East 1 if that's where the DMZ is. So now you have access through the firewalls to any of our back end. So if we want to allow an application to get all the way through into the application VPC, we update the front-end firewall to allow the HTTP, HTTPS in, and then we open up the back end for SAP or whatever application it needs to have the access. So this really gives us the flexibility, one, to be a little bit tighter on security in one of the inspection VPCs and a little bit more open like we are in our data centers for the other VPCs. We have some restrictions. Trying to make sure everything's encrypted, HTTPS, but we're not as strict, obviously, as we are in the inspection VPC. So that gives us that capability, and it's been very successful for us. So we migrated from our old model to this probably like 4 years ago. Let's see. So egress, outbound traffic. If we're in an application VPC and you want to go out to Google, again, the application VPCs have one route on the transit. It's the default route is to the transit, and the transit automatically takes them to the inspection VPC. So no traffic can leave the application VPCs that does not get inspected by the inspection VPCs. Once it hits there, if it's going out to the internet, the rules for outbound internet are applied in the firewalls. Traffic goes out to the internet, and then the reply traffic goes through the same path, right? So not only is the request inspected for threat and antivirus, such not so is all the return traffic. East-west lateral. So if you're in the application VPC, say the green one, right, and you hit the transit, you're automatically forced to the inspection VPC, the Palos, inspect the traffic, threat, malware, such not. As long as it passes, it comes back, the transit gateway goes on to its destination. So again, the application VPCs have one route. They can only go to the security VPC. And then the security VPC has routes to everything in every region, multi-cloud. So we have the same model in Azure and GCP. There's no transit gateways, obviously, but when you go into either of those other clouds, there's inspection VPCs following the exact same auto-scaling model with the local technology of that cloud provider. And so makes a big environment. We have around 51, 52 firewalls today, but those are all managed through the Panorama. So if you don't know, the Panorama is like a centralized console. So you can do all your configuration, all your deployments, all your rules. Your logging is in one location. So if somebody's in US East 1 in AWS and they're talking in Azure to Germany, I can go just in the console and say this IP to this IP, show me the traffic, and I instantly query all the logs and get all the information back. So that's been probably the biggest value to us from Palo has been the Panorama. Just because it's, all our configurations are there, like how often do you want your firewalls to download threat, antivirus, and such not. You can create templates, then use the template for every region, and then you don't go back to it. If I say every 10 minutes I want to look for updated threats and viruses, every 10 minutes the firewalls automatically do it. If I ever want to change my policy and make it every 1 minute, I change it in Panorama, do a push, instantly 40, 50. I think we're going to do questions, sorry about that. I think we're going to do questions at the end, and we'll all be here. Plus we'll be out in the hall afterwards, so we'll hang out for any questions. I just don't want to steal anybody else's time. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so this is multi-region. It's really the same thing. So again, the simplicity of the environment is good. So we're about 1,100 VPCs now for applications. They all have one route. They all go to the inspection VPC. It makes troubleshooting a lot easier. You're not worrying about what path did it take, right? So everything goes to the inspection VPC, and then as long as it passes the inspection VPC will allow it to go anywhere. It can go into on-prem through direct connects. It can go to Azure, GCP, something in the same region. If it needs to get to another region, it follows the transit gateway peering connection to the other region. But even that other region follows the same rules. As soon as it comes in, it's forced to the security VPC in the other region. So it does get inspected twice, in the source region and in the destination region, because it makes the simplicity of the routing there. Everything's going through there. And since we're using the panorama for rule management, as soon as I put the rule in that, this host can talk to this host in the other cloud, those rules automatically are on all the firewalls. So I don't have to go, oh no, wait, I never pushed the rule out to Azure, or I didn't do this. It's automatically everywhere. So once you define the rules, they're kind of pushed out to the whole fabric itself, which just makes the management very simple. All right, let me hit a couple of guys back here quickly. Let's see what the question, what the slides were. So we went with the cloud first strategy about 8 years ago. We have about 90% of our applications are in the cloud today. 90% of those are in AWS. Transit gateway, like we mentioned. We needed the security tier, and that's where I love to stay with only the cloud provider services for everything, just because it makes support and management and troubleshooting so easy. You have one place to go, you got one support desk to call, fix the problem, it's obviously you. But the delta between any other provider and what Palo offered was so big. I'm a big fan of the solution.
Hey, Mark, what's the top 3 benefits you're seeing based on this architecture and this?
I think the simplicity of the management. We have a cloud team for infrastructure of about 8 people, and we manage 3 clouds and, like I said, 1,100 VPCs, and all of our on-prem network kind of goes through direct connects. So we have, I think I said 9 or 10 regions of direct connects going on-prem. So all of that all gets inspected, and the simplicity that the panorama really brings.
You mean the centralized management?
The centralized management is huge.
Okay.
The security's there, but that's there in other products. If I was differentiating what I saw with checkpoints, the panorama would be the home run that really.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you
for your time.
You bet.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, you talked about VMCs, which are self-managed firewall instances. We also have another form factor, which we call it Cloud NGFW. It's Palo Alto Networks managed next-generation firewall capabilities delivered as a service on AWS platform. It's a regional service. It comes with zero maintenance, 4.9 SLAs, built-in lifecycle management, built-in scalability, built-in resiliency. As a customer, you just go and deploy a resource in a region, and author policies either through Panorama or directly on this console, and then you can just redirect traffic to it. A Cloud NGFW transfers the entire operation responsibility from you as a customer to Palo Alto Networks, and it gives you 4.9 SLAs on that. We have few customers using this product, and I'm going to invite John from SSC Technologies to talk more on how they are using a Cloud NGFW in their environment.
Good afternoon. John Wright, I'm from SS&C Technologies. This is barely half of what we do. We are a company of mergers and acquisitions. We run our own private cloud, so if you want to use one of our products, you can host it, we can host it, and so that's where we use Palo Alto a lot. We have some 300 pairs of firewalls that we manage today, Palo Alto, across multiple Panorama instances. The VM series we use in the cloud is, like Mark said, it's all of those things, but it is not like AWS where we have auto scaling. They're just pairs of firewalls there. We also have 500 AWS accounts, and within those multiple VPCs. And we have several, what is the next slide? This is a slide of just some of our offerings. We do a lot of financial, a lot of, like if you guys have a 401k, we probably touch your money in some way, shape, or form. If you have a bank account, we probably touch your money in some way, shape, or form. If you have ordered from a pharmacy, transactions, we do tons of stuff. Just, if you want to know more, sscinc.com. So we have VM series in our private cloud and also in public cloud. So what Mark was talking about, we do a lot of the same things. Not all of the networks are the same. Because we're mergers and acquisitions, we end up with Tom built this network, Mike built that network, and they had theological differences in how they wanted to set it up. But at the core or at the edge of that is a Palo firewall somewhere. But along with that, we get new clients, and we need to rapidly deploy things. And you can use Terraform, you can use Ansible, you can do all of those things to rapidly deploy Palo. Like Mark said, there's a lot of integrations there. We have customer environments as well that we manage. So like a customer may come to us and say, we don't want to do our own IT. Will you manage it for us? We say, yeah, we'll spin up Active Directory, we'll spin up desktops, Citrix, and things like that for them. And when they want that, they want it 2 weeks ago. And then they want it now, and then they want it, in a week or whatever. It doesn't really matter when they want it. We started to migrate to, we started to greenfield with Cloud NGFW. And so the reason for that was just how rapidly you can deploy. So what we have now is application where it's just that customer's VPC. And we can put a firewall right at the end of it. And I don't have to worry about setting up the load balancers, and I don't have to worry about setting up the scalability groups or anything like that. I just tell Palo with a click of a button, go put a firewall here. And if it hits 100% utilization, it spins up another one and another one and another one. And I don't see those. There are not EC2 instances running Palo firewalls that I manage. They're running and managing them. I'm leveraging them. So all of that connectivity that Mark was talking about, instead of having EC2 instances and scalability across all of them and everything, I don't have to worry about it. I can use the same transit gateways. I'm just going to keep pointing back to his diagrams because they looked exactly like mine, but also we have so many different networks that I can't show you a diagram of one. But all of the things that he was showing you where it's like, we use this transit gateway to go here to this Palo. There's a Palo there for us too. It's going east-west. There's a Palo there too. The only difference is the only thing I see in my accounts are the subnets the Palos exist on, the route tables that point to the load balancer gateway interfaces, and that's it. I get my logs through CloudWatch, I throw them in S3, or I can send them to Strata Cloud Manager and pull them into Panorama. And my firewalls are all still managed by Panorama as well. So for us, the choice to do Cloud NGFW versus VM series just came down to ease of deployment, basically. We were asked, can you get this set up? And rather than have to go through with cloud architects and engineers and all that stuff and explain to them how we wanted it to look and all of those things, we just said, hey, it's cloud native constructs. We're just going to stay cloud native. We don't have to try to shoehorn in, a traditional layer 2 network here or anything like that. We get to stay software defined. We get to just put it out there and it works. So it really looks a lot like when you just use AWS firewall. It's just there. You don't see the actual software firewall that's running or anything like that. And then, again, centrally managed, all of my rules, like Mark said, I want to put a rule in that stretches across all of the environments. I just put it in and push it to all the cloud firewalls through Panorama, and it's done. And we get the security of all of the Palo things. So that was the reason we went with Palo is, well, we were already a Palo customer, but we knew we wanted all of those security features that Palo could bring to the table. URL filtering, app control, DNS filtering, threat prevention, wildfire, all of those things we use heavily and rely on for security. We have regulations that we have to meet too. So some of those things are, hey, it's just web apps. Why don't you just put a WAF in front of it and block everything else with a network ACL? You can do that, but then we have regulators we have to talk to, and they're like, where's your firewall? And we're like, can't just go, no, we don't have a firewall there. So it has to be there. Might as well make it a Palo and make it the best security I can put on the edge. So.
Hey, John, you have one application. Are you going to extend to multiple applications?
So right now, we have two environments. One is in Tokyo, one is in Singapore that are leveraging cloud NGFW. We are designing 3 more for different areas. We have multiple applications and business units that already have Palo firewalls deployed using VM series, and we're planning on migrating them to cloud NGFW. And the beauty of that is the firewalls that are there get to stay there. I get to go click a button, and then the E&I comes in, and I just go into the route tables and say, hey, instead of going to this gateway load balancer here, go to this one instead. So a little story I was telling Vijay about earlier was I deployed these firewalls, and I named them wrong because I just wasn't paying attention. I put the Singapore firewall in Tokyo, and I put the Tokyo firewall in Singapore. And I had people in testing they're sending traffic, and I went, I have to correct that. So I went in and deployed a Singapore firewall in Singapore and a Tokyo firewall in Tokyo, and then I went into the route tables and I adjusted them, and everybody that was testing was none the wiser, and it just destroyed the old stuff. So it's the beauty of that flexibility of cloud, along with all the resiliency, redundancy, all of those things, scalability, and just it works at speed. So all of those things. I don't know if I'm missing a point. I feel like I've made a lot.
Yes.
I don't know.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that. You can take that. So I think the last question you already talked about the benefits of centralized management and the cloud native ease of use. Thanks for all that.
Yeah.
Thank you for time. Okay.
Thanks.
So we talked about 2 form factors. One is the self-managed VMCs instances, and then the cloud Palo Alto Networks managed cloud NGFW. A lot of customers have asked, why do you have 2? It's because we saw that the buying center was changing for Palo Alto Networks firewall. A lot of customers like you came and told us that we like your best-in-class security, but can't you just make it as easy as other AWS services I'm using on AWS? So we listened to you, and that's why we built cloud NGFW. As customers are starting to use cloud NGFW, we are seeing a lot of customers from regulated industry like finance, healthcare, are using it. So they need certifications. So cloud NGFW now has comprehensive certifications. It's now SOC 2 certified, ISO certified, PCI compliant, HIPAA compliant, and so on. So let's invite Eric from Avalon Healthcare Solutions and talk about how he's using it in the healthcare industry.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Eric Ellis from Avalon Healthcare Solutions. And one of the things that we do is we drive healthcare from digital perspectives. And yeah, this is better, yeah. All right, and so what we do is we unlock lab results. And those lab results basically are health claims that you guys when you go to your doctors, and they file those health claims, and then they come back to us. And then we do some really cool stuff with it. So we partner with most of your healthcare companies that are out there today. So if you think about your healthcare company, we probably partner with them. And then we sit on the back side of it, and we apply policies from those healthcare companies, insurance companies. And then we make sure they're applied. So when we apply them, then that brings savings to the insurance companies, and it also brings savings to you. Just think about when you go to your primary care, you go get blood work, they say, oh, you need to see a specialist. So you go see the specialist. Specialist says, oh, well, you need to go do blood work. We say, no, use the blood work that you just got from the primary care. Let's save the patient money, let's save the health insurance company money. That's kind of what we do. And so we deal with PHI and non-PHI. So we're dealing with your health records. And so with that being the case, security is first in mind. As a matter of fact, as Avalon was built, we built Avalon with security first in mind. And we were born in the cloud, so we're 100% built in the cloud. So our use case is just slightly different because we don't have a hybrid model or on-prem model. We're 100% cloud. And for those of you that are 100% cloud, you already know some of the challenges that come with just being 100% cloud, right? And definitely security, firewall security, and how that information and data is transmitted through our environment is very key. So here is kind of our strategies. And what we do is we use a layered security approach, zero trust, HIPAA, defense and depth, and build security into the culture. And really, we should flip that because we build security into the culture first, right? So anything that we build, we start off with, okay, how do we secure what your thought is? One of the things that we learned early on is combining multiple security groups on different instances or VPCs, along with ACLs, kind of causes a security nightmare when you're trying to layer in there, right? And so we developed a process of how we build out our instances, how we build out our VPCs, and whether or not we use an ACL, and then on up to our firewall systems and how that traffic comes in, it's natted, and by the way, we changed that process with the Cloud NGFW, right? So we no longer needed those NATs, but early on, 10 years ago, the NAT was really effective for us in our layering approach. We would break down our environments, and we would break down a VPC, and we would use two routes, right? One's a public, one's a private. So that way, we could actually kind of sneak in our traffic, and if you're looking at that traffic, it's not really going to our private network. So that was one of the things that we did in terms of our layering, along with a lot of other things in terms of the zero trust. And you guys can talk to me on a one-on-one. I'm not gonna really talk to a lot of the points of how we do our security, but this gives you an overall view of kind of where we go with this. All right. So back in 2015, again, we were born in the cloud. And so we started with that layered approach, right? And a segmented security posture. And what that means is basically we would go in to every VPC and set up a firewall. And then that firewall would then route NAT traffic, right, over into our private environment for that one VPC. And so, of course, we had multiple VPCs. And so we had multiple firewalls. So we actually, and as you look over the years here, 2017, everything started to increase in the VPCs and our firewalls. And so around 2022 is when we started looking at the Cloud NGFW. And then in that, we were able to see that we could actually save in cost on reducing the amount of firewalls over those VPCs by integrating a transient gateway, right? So we could get east-west traffic going, and then putting in the Cloud NGFW, which gave us a single point of security, high availability, cost savings, because now we could reduce the amount of firewalls that we had over all of these VPCs. Then it put us in a better position to build out our new regions. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but this is what our egress traffic looks like now, right? And it's got our single Cloud NGFW and the firewall. You can see the service right there. But our application VPCs and the traffic, you can see our flow as it leaves out of our environment, heads out to the transit gateway, gets inspected through the Cloud NGFW, and then out through to the internet, right? That was a leap for us, but not so much of a leap from the convenience that it gave us. Because you can see here, we're just showing two VPCs, but for each one of those VPCs, we had a firewall. Now we have a single point where we can manage that firewall, manage our security from that perspective, and it gives us that other layered security that we were looking for, because that cloud NGFW, that's really a public space. Everything else is on a private. Well, that's what we were doing with one VPC and one firewall, right? So we had that firewall, we had a public and a private route. Well, with this, we don't need all that. We don't need that extra firewall. So the cost savings is tremendous. And we did not have to really give up anything on our security posture and how we position this. So this is our egress. And yeah, let's try that again. This is our ingress. And so any traffic coming in, you can see where the internet starts. We have our ingress VPC. Then everything hits that transit gateway. But once it hits that transit gateway, it goes down and it gets inspected. And once it gets inspected, then that traffic is sent on to where it originally was going from its URL, things of that nature. And so just kind of showing you guys the egress and the ingress of the way that environment works. And again, because of the cloud NGFW, we don't have to have multiple firewalls. I don't have to hire multiple engineers to really maintain the security posture that we have here. Now, in this particular instance, disaster recovery, what the cloud NGFW has now positioned us to do is be kind of scalable and implement our disaster recovery strategy, right? So now we can go out and we can build out a new cloud NGFW and hook them up through a transit gateway peering. Now all of a sudden, we can reduce latency on the West Coast, maintain a disaster and recovery posture, right? We can swing that out there using that accelerator, swing that out to the West Coast. But all of this was made possible through the cloud NGFW and the discovery of that, of how this works. And can you imagine, 8 firewalls, now all of a sudden we got to transition 8 firewalls over to the West Coast just to maintain disaster recovery. It's a nightmare. We don't have to do that with this posture. And we're really excited about that, by the way. And so my favorite part here is it reduces engineering resources, loads, and staffing needs, reduces complexity of manning and multiple firewalls. I have multiple engineers that are on our team. Those guys are great. But to have everybody in my firewall, back and forth, that's not the best posture for security. So to be able to offload those into logs in the CloudWatch or off into our firewall where our engineers, where the actual network engineers are, or off in the CloudWatch where I can get other engineers that are having problems in different areas, they can go right there in the log and just look. Respond to it themselves. They know exactly what's going on because they can see it. Provides the ability to secure our multiple AWS regions environments, and I talked a little bit about that when I talked about the disaster recovery, right, and the scalability and the opportunity to reduce latency out on that West Coast for us because we're primary East region. And here's a big one. Security efficacy, right? The threat research. We don't have to patch, right? You imagine 8, 9 firewalls, we gotta continuously patch. And then the danger of, hey, if a patch, takes down one of those firewalls, all right, so now you gotta fail over to your next one. What's the time difference and how many claims out of the millions of claims that we receive in a day, how many did we miss, right? So we don't have that issue here, right? Especially the patching, that's a really big one. Proof security manageable with built-in scalability, and that's that high availability. That's where we look at it and say, okay, we don't need 9 firewalls. We can have as many as we need through the cloud NGFW. economies of scale. If the load comes through and we need more servers, it produces it for us. So, and it's simplified operations. I think I talked a little bit about that.
Thank you, Eric, for your time. Thank you for it.
All right.
So we talked about the network security platform itself and the software firewall form factor and how the cloud AWS security services gives the security effectiveness. I forgot to mention that we also have an Unit 42 threat research team which augments this data we collect from different firewalls to provide you best protections. That is a very good contributor for all of the firewalls as well. So we have a new entrant to our software firewall family. We just introduced it last month, which is the AI runtime security instances. They are again VMC's instances. They are specifically built to protect your traffic or communication between AI applications and models and users. Because we are seeing as applications are as customers like you are using onboarding AI to your applications as well as using models, we are seeing a lot of threat vectors now like prompt injection and unsolicited use of URLs and so on. So we just want to make sure your traffic is protected, and this is a VM series or VM instances which will protect your AI traffic specifically. We had a session earlier yesterday on this topic in detail. Please look at the recording, and that would give you a best approach of how we are protecting, what are the models we are protecting, and so on. Moving on, I think we're coming to the end of this presentation. So I just want to conclude saying that Palo Alto Networks firewall will protect your both private cloud and public cloud. You have automation to deploy them easily, whether you want to manage it by yourself or you want us to manage it. There are automation capabilities using CloudFormation or Terraform or Ansible and so on. And then these firewalls do protect you from zero-day malware, zero-day exploits. We have a lot of papers out there see how we are doing it. And very importantly, you have centralized operations and centralized policy management across your clouds, across your environment, using a single platform, right? With all that, I want to just let it close saying that all our firewalls are available in AWS Marketplace. I'll ask you to try it out them. We have 30-day free trials on all these firewall options. Please do try them. Also look at our test drive, which is also free. Also look at the reports, and also talk to one of our sales team, and we are here to help you. With that, we conclude this presentation. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day.